Greetings, Internet. Thought I would do something a bit different today on the channel. I'm comparing my 2011 BMW G650GS with my 2020 Kawasaki W800. At first glance, these bikes seem to be completely different machines that shouldn't ever be compared. But if you look at the specifications on each bike, the comparison makes as much sense as many of the W800 comparisons out on the internet today. As always, please do consider giving the video a like, then subscribing to the channel. We really do appreciate the followers that we have. So if you have subscribed to our little channel, thank you very much. Let's start with the specifications. The 2011 BMW G650GS tops out on the dyno at 50 horsepower, 36.5 kilowatts at 7,000 RPM. The 2020 Kawasaki W800 tops out on the dyno at 51 horsepower, 38 kilowatts at 6,200 RPM. I do understand the European version of the W800 tops out about 47-48 horsepower. The GS makes 32.5 foot-pounds of torque, or 44 newton meters, at 5,250 RPM. The W800 makes 46.4 foot-pounds of torque, or 62.9 newton meters, at 4,500 RPM. Both bikes have 5-speed transmissions and a chain drive. Seat height on the BMW is 30.7 inches with a standard seat. Seat height on the Kawasaki is 31.1 inches with the standard seat. Both bikes have ABS. Both bikes have a single disc up front with 2 piston calipers. Both bikes have a single disc in back. Both bikes have a 19-inch front tire. Both bikes have front tire width of 100 millimeters and a rear tire width of 130 millimeters. The GS weighs in at 423 pounds wet, or 192 kilograms. The W weighs in at 496 pounds wet, or 225 kilograms. Both bikes carry 4 gallons, 15.14 liters of fuel. Where the bikes are different. The GS is an adventure bike. The W is a modern retro. The GS is a Rotax single cylinder. The W is a parallel twin with a cam bevel drive. The GS has a 17-inch rear tire. The W has an 18-inch rear tire. The GS is liquid cooled. The W is air cooled. The GS has 6.7 inches of front wheel travel. The W has 5.1 inches of front wheel travel. The GS has 6.7 of rear wheel travel. The W has 4.2 inches of rear wheel travel. The easy question is, why am I comparing these two very different motorbikes? The simple answer is that I have both these bikes in my garage and I often switch between the two. The primary motivations that determine which bike I take are these: distance of the ride. If it's 3 hours or less and on paved roads, I take the W800. If it's over 3 hours or has a combination of dirt, gravel, and tarmac, I take the GS. Once the R1200 CLC is back on the road, this will change again, as it's perfectly suited for long distance hauls, including interstate, but that's another video. The power and weight of these two bikes is similar, although obviously not perfectly matched. The engineering of these bikes is vastly different, even though they share many commonalities. The finish of both these bikes is top-notch. Kawasaki and BMW are both excellent manufacturers, and its attention to detail and premium engineering going into both of these motorcycles. The Kawasaki W800 has many kits available to convert it to a scrambler, while adding the Bridgestone Battle Axe AT41 tires, making it more comparable to the G650GS with adventure tires. Likewise, the G650GS can be outfitted with road tires, making it longer suspension travel capable street bike. When my brother visited us, we happily traded bikes back and forth, these two specifically, so we both had back and forth comparison of them. How these bikes are outfitted. The G650GS has Shinko big block adventure tires, front and rear, the 804 and 805s. Crash bars, bark busters, hand protection, the small BMW windscreen, and a Touratech aftermarket comfort low seat. The W800 has factory tires, crash bars, Omega Racer aluminium square fly screen, 30mm bar risers, 7-inch headlight visor, a stock seat, and a tail bag with the kit. The obvious riding bits out of the way right off go. Yes, the GS is a much better bike to take on dirt and gravel roads, mainly due to the lighter weight and the long travel suspension coupled with the adventure tires. I have even taken the GS on single track trails. I wasn't going very quickly, but I did manage to go without going sideways. I would never attempt to do this on the W800 unless I had no other choice. The W800 regularly gets mistaken for an old Norton, BSA, or AJS motorcycle. No one would confuse the GS for one. The lazy conclusion would be that the W800 is much better on the tarmac and the GS much better off tarmac. While the latter is completely true, the prior gets a bit murkier. The reality is the G650GS is very capable on tarmac. I currently have 40% tarmac and 60% off-tarmac Shinko tires on the GS, but it has all sorts of tires available, all the way to strict tarmac tires. I previously ran 90% tarmac, 10% off-tarmac tires on the GS, which were highly capable road tires, but did leave a lot to be desired on non-paved roads, especially in turns with loose gravel. Every time I ride the W800, I do ride a couple of miles or so off tarmac, as I live off tarmac by nearly a mile. Although the W800 wasn't purpose-built to get off tarmac, it does get me down and back up the mountain every time I've taken her out with little to no issues. The lack of suspension travel means that the W800 is not built to take the less well-maintained off-tarmac roads that the GS easily travels. Most street bikes see very little off-tarmac use, so from here on out we'll be talking about on-tarmac performance comparing the 2011 G650GS and the 2020 Kawasaki W800. The first thing that's a bit ironic, the W feels smaller than the GS. By that I mean going and sitting from one to the next, the GS has more visible motorcycle up in front of you. And the W800 kind of disappears underneath you. It goes beyond the height of the bikes. The GS comes in with a wheelbase of 59 inches or 1,500 millimeters, and the W comes in with a wheelbase of 57.7 or 1,466 millimeters. With the slightly shorter wheelbase, the W does feel a bit more nimble once you compensate for the narrower handlebar and the heftier weight. There are a few motorcycles that I would say are exceptionally easy to ride. Think turn and the bikes are complying. The G650GS is one of those motorcycles. It's narrow and makes for easy reach to the ground, especially with the low Touratech seat we have mounted on it. It's a wonderful motorbike to provide our guests as we ride around the Green Mountains, as the thought put into riding is minimal, and the focus can be on enjoying the scenery of the ride. The suspension and seat are comfortable, and the seating position is neutral. There's a small windscreen that surprisingly does a great deal to minimize wind blast, even on our 50-mile-per-hour 2-lane road infrastructure. The one complaint I've heard is that the shifter is in tight to the body of the bike. Maybe to keep the toes pointed in for adventure riding? I'm not sure. The W, on the other hand, is focused on riding. I feel every sensation. I'm transported back to my late teens riding a 1972 big bike, 750 BMW in my case, which came in at a beefy 50 horsepower and 500 pounds. The W, of course, being a true parallel twin with a 360-degree crank, is not the Boxer I rode in my youth. And the nostalgia, amazement of slipping through space and time effortlessly on a motorcycle while still being enthralled and thrilled about riding is 100% intact on the W800. The exhaust note is quiet and fabulous with a terrific sound. The motor generates plenty of torque and down low that fits perfectly on the 2-lane roadways of rural Vermont. One of the best ways I can summarize is that riding the W800 on the street creates the same engagement from the rider as riding the G650GS on the trails. It's a blast. It's a reminder to throw back times. You're having so much fun and feeling excited and grateful to be experiencing such an amazing series of events and sensations. It's definitely a day well spent. The GS does great on tarmac too, but it just loses some of that engagement. When I was younger, I used to hear people say it's more fun to ride a slow motorcycle fast than a fast motorcycle slow. I 100% agree with that now. Yes, the W800 is a slow show pony of a motorcycle, and it's a total blast to ride around at 25 to 50 miles an hour. Yes, the G650GS can get you down the interstate, but it's much happier and much more of a pleasure to ride on unpaved back roads and discovering scenes and sights the pavement just doesn't make it to, and is extremely capable and comfortable getting you there. I gave away the ending of this video in the intro when I said that I owned both these motorbikes, because in the end I highly recommend them both. Used motorcycles are still a bargain when considering the enjoyment and joy you get out of them. There are lots of low mileage G650GSs and W800s out there. Do yourself a really big favor and pick up a pair, one of each. If you can only buy one, which one would I suggest? It's an easy choice. If you're looking for a light middleweight adventure bike that can keep going when the tarmac runs out, the ability to turn off ABS in the dirt, and mostly plastic bodywork, then the 2011 G650GS is your girl. She's easy to ride, exceptionally capable, and can handle tarmac as well as including interstates. If you're looking for a classic, beautiful, modern retro with a gorgeous engine, that bevel drive is so unusual that it really does something for me. And a wonderful throwback styling and steel parts, which transports you back in time to when parallel twins were the cat's pajamas and doing the ton, 100 miles an hour, on a motorbike, still got bragging rights, then the W800 is your girl. As always, thank you for watching, and if you made it this far, I definitely appreciate you sticking with the video to the end. Keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. Cheers!